If there was anything Pastor Fred wanted in his life, was pastoring a large number of congregation in his church, and the power to perform miracles. Despite praying every day for breakthrough, his pockets were empty, and his prayers for an helper seemed to go unanswered. One evening, a beautiful lady named Esther walked into his midweek service. She was calm and respectful. She was so beautiful for any man to resist. After the service, Fred saw her off. "From the moment you stepped into the church, the Holy Spirit told me that you are my wife," Pastor Fred whispered to Esther. "If the Holy Spirit told you that I am your wife, then who am I to say no?" Esther responded with a bright smile on her face. They fell deeply in love, and within few months, Pastor Fred and Esther were married in a simple wedding ceremony. From that day forward, a strange and wonderful fortune blessed the Pastor Fred's life. His once small congregation began to grow at an impossible rate. Where he once prayed for rent money, a wealthy benefactor suddenly donated a large sum of money. Fred believed these were divine miracles and answers to his faithful prayers. He did not know that each night, his wife Esther would whisper to the wind and weave blessings from the unseen world, directing prosperity and magic his way. Soon, Pastor Fred became famous far beyond the town of Zuma. People journeyed for miles to witness his incredible miracles. He prayed over the sick, and they would rise from their beds, healed completely. He would speak to barren families, and women gave birth to their own babies. The church was overflowed with wealthy men, government officials and other influential personalities in the city. Fred built a new, massive cathedral, and moved into a luxurious mansion with his wife, all thanks to the invisible hand of his ghostly wife. Esther required nothing from Fred, but his love and loyalty, a promise he had made to her on their wedding night. She warned him that their bond was sacred and their fortune was tied to his faithfulness. Fred, drunk with the power and fame he had acquired, readily agreed, believing his success was solely his own doing and that God would never let him fall. As Fred's fame soared, so did his pride. He began to overlook Esther. He was busy receiving praise from his adoring followers. He started to believe the whispers that he was a living saint, a prophet of his time. His heart, once humble, grew hard and arrogant. He forgot the quiet, lonely nights before Esther arrived and saw only the powerful man he had become. In his choir was a young beautiful woman named Ada. Ada was the most committed and loyal follower of Pastor Fred. She was always in church fixing one thing or the other. She started watching Pastor Fred with an admiring eyes. She flattered him, praising his powers and his preachings, and Fred, weakened by his pride, eagerly accepted her attention. He started stealing glances at her during services, and found reasons to meet with her alone after rehearsals. A dangerous affection began to grow in his heart, overshadowing his love for his silent wife. One rainy night, Pastor Fred betrayed his vow. He met Ada in his study room behind the church main building after everyone had left, and they shared an unholy kiss, which led to the termination of his loyalty with his wife. A violent wind shook the entire church, extinguishing all the lights and shattering a stained glass window. At that very moment, Esther, sitting in their mansion, let out a sorrowful cry that was carried away by the storm. Before Fred could speak a word of excuse, Esther began to change. The beautiful woman he married faded, and in her place stood a translucent figure, a spirit from the other side. She revealed her truth. She was a ghost who had chosen him, lending him her otherworldly magic to build his empire. His miracles, his wealth, his fame, all of it was hers. The following Sunday, the grand cathedral was packed with people expecting another spectacular miracle. But when Pastor Fred stood at the pulpit, he felt utterly empty. He called upon the heavens, but nothing happened. A sick child brought to him remained sick. The prayers felt hollow. The magic was gone. The congregation murmured in confusion and disappointment. Later that day, the bank manager arrived at Fred's mansion. All his accounts were mysteriously drained. Every asset vanished as if it had never existed. The beautiful home felt like a hollow shell. Fred's wealth had disappeared with Esther's magic, leaving him with nothing but debt and confusion. His church abandoned him, labeling him a fraud. He was left with only the shattered pieces of his life, living in the empty, echoing cathedral that was now too large and too expensive for him to maintain.